then I had a major setback. I prayed for a miracle. And a voice, again, the voice, right, said, paint 33 angels in 30 days. Like that was going to be my miracle. And it didn't look like the kind of miracle I was asking for. I mean, I wanted a financial miracle or like someone to come and lead me by the hand miracle. And I hear this voice again, second time. I said, well, first I said, I can't do it. Second time I hear it. And I was like, well, I can't paint faces or eyes or anything. What are you, crazy? And then I heard it a third time. And the third time I knew that that was my way through.
The Dr. Joan of Angels. Welcome to the show. I feel like this is like star power on my show right now.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's a thing for things to come.
I love it. So I have to always start with the resume, right? So you're a doctor of chiropractic. You are a cosmic activator, a high priestess. You have a master's in counseling. You're an oracle of ancient wisdom, spiritual advisor, an artist, model, actress. And my favorite thing is that you're a wing fluffer, which I know we'll talk about later. But like, how did you have the time to have all of those accolades and skills and talents and spiritual gifts in one lifetime?
Well, that's a great question because every aspect was like a different lifetime. And when I had someone say to me, well, Joan, you have 33 different soul aspects and you need to integrate them. And that's because I had so many different, like you're saying.
So where did this all begin? So I love to ask about spiritual awakening. I have a sense that you have a very unique spiritual awakening story considering how unique your life is. So where did all this begin?
Well, I think it began when I was a little girl. I always wanted to know more. I was essentially so curious about the way things worked. And I had a sixth sense about things. Like I read somewhere in the Bible about these are the days that giants walked the planet. And I knew giants had literally walked the planet, even though my family or, you know, the religious leaders thought I was crazy. And it said, these are the, what was it? The sons of God mated with the daughters of man. Such a profound impact those two sentences had on me. Because that told me, I knew this was true. In my heart of hearts, you couldn't convince me that that didn't happen. I knew giants had roamed the earth, and I do a lot of investigation on it, and I've been proved right. But that's what began it. But I had a lot of compassion and love for people. I was also an abused child in a lot of ways, and I ran away at 3 and I hid in a closet, which has sort of impacted the way I've come out because I need to come out for the work I do, but I have that part of me that really prefers the closet and being, you know, shy. But my love of people ultimately led me to becoming a chiropractor. When I was 25, I had a scoliosis and a back problem, and I ended up going to chiropractic school. And before that, I had run away to California and I had moved into a spiritual community. I very rarely talk about it, but you asked and thought something unusual. So yeah, I had this call to move into a spiritual community because I knew that there was something beyond this body here, that things are going on. And I was still trying to figure out what were these sons of God that mated with the daughters of man part, you know? And I joined a spiritual community, and it was there in the spiritual community one night when I was in a seminar and I was going, okay, what should I do with my life? You know, what should I do? Because I felt that I couldn't do anything. I never thought I'd live past 30 because I couldn't see a future. And I heard a voice that said, go to chiropractic school. And that's how I live my life usually, when I hear very specific guidance about certain things and I act upon it. So I literally enrolled in chiropractic school the next day. And that launched a huge part of my life into terms of what I'm doing now.
So let's talk a little bit about what you're doing now, because I feel like those, at least on the surface of it, it might seem like two separate worlds. Chiropractic, which is very much about the body, and then the spiritual work. So how do those two come together? How did that bridge to where you are now?
Well, see, I always had the spiritual component, you know, that now I'm a chiropractor, but I was in that consciousness. But I think it was my hands that led me. And I'll tell you why. People would come in and sit down, and and my hands would, I'd ask them questions, my hands would do their own thing.
Mm.
Literally, if I didn't think about it, my hands knew where the pain was. And I'd be pressing away and they'd go, well, Dr. Joan, how did you know I hurt so much? And it was like, well, I didn't. I didn't consciously know that.
Yeah.
Which is really about my art too, because in the artwork, the artwork represents that part of me that can't speak out. It almost comes out in the artwork. But I started to notice, and I had learned how to do energy healing, and I started laying hands on people and running energy on people. And so that evolved. And I always ended every adjustment with these words: we just turned your power on.
Oh.
Just connected you to divine intelligence. We just turned your power on.
Yeah.
So I think that eventually that led me into, when I started to write books, I wrote a book about miracles, and I lost everything. And then I wrote this book about miracles. And more, I started to do coaching sessions for people. They were really psychic sessions or intuitive guidance.
Yeah.
And I started to do more and more of that work with people.
Yeah.
Then I had a major setback. I prayed for a miracle. And a voice, again, the voice, right, said, paint 33 angels in 30 days. Like that was going to be my miracle. And it didn't look like the kind of miracle I was asking for. I mean, I wanted a financial miracle or someone to come and lead me by the hand miracle.
Yeah.
And I hear this voice again, second time. I said, well, first I said, I can't do it. Second time I hear it. And I was like, well, I can't paint faces or eyes or anything. What are you, crazy? And then I heard it a third time. And the third time I knew that was my way through.
Yeah.
That this was the answer, that I may not have the answer, because it was like, well, what do I do with all this art now?
Yeah.
I put it up in my loft and a book falls off the shelf, says your call for angelic assistance has been heard. And so I knew that my prayers would be answered if I just kept moving forward. And the truth is that that's the way it is for most people.
Yeah.
If you recognize that you hear this prompting, and if you say yes to that prompting, then it brings you to the next prompting and the next guidance. And that's the way I started living my life. And I had a little major upset right around that time. So here I am painting angels, and I have a palm reader. I go to this palm reader at this festival.
Yeah.
And because I'd heard about him. And he says to me, did you know you were supposed to be famous a long time ago, but you blew it?
Really?
And I basically started crying because I did know it. Because I hadn't followed that guidance the way I was told to. And I was too scared, it was like, it wasn't logical. And so I ran away, in a sense, from my leadership, and he was right.
Yeah.
And then he said, well, it's going to come again, but it will be in a different way. He said that. I really made a commitment to listen to that voice within, that if I was to navigate this new world of energy and art and healing, that I needed to pay attention to the messages. And it was around that time that I moved to the desert, because I was told that I had to hear. And I moved to the desert. I met this woman, and she named me Joan of Angels. And so I embraced it. I said yes. And every time I'd get those inspiration, I would either paint or do what they were telling me to do. And that became a big guidance in my life.
Ooh, so you were just following those intuitive hits, and it just expanded and expanded and expanded your reach and your mission and what you're supposed to do in this world, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, but I want everyone to know that it wasn't so easy. I don't want you to think that you get this flash and inspiration and aha, you're on top of the world.
Right.
No, it doesn't happen like that. You need to do the work. And once I was named Joan of Angels, which is the day after I moved to the desert, 2015, it took me 7 years.
Yeah.
So I always say Jesus had 7 weeks in the desert. I had to have 7 years in the desert.
Yeah.
Because that's how long it took for me to integrate Joan of Angels. First of all, I was embarrassed. I couldn't even introduce myself as Joan of Angels. I would let the floor cover me kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to integrate who I am.
Yeah.
So I can connect now as this more powerful healer that you see.
Yeah. So it's interesting. You were saying that the palm reader said, you were supposed to be famous earlier in life and you blew it, in their words. So what's your feeling about, destiny and fate? Do you think that you were always destined for this and it would just keep coming back around? Or do you think that if you didn't, heed that call, you'd be an accountant or something somewhere?
Well, funny you should say that.
Yeah.
I want to tell you a story about how I got the vision, but
Yeah.
when I was 8 or 9, both my brother and my mother sat me down.
Yeah.
And it was really weird because I had actually, I was in 5th grade and I had done a self-portrait. And I was
Hmm.
so proud of myself. I
Yeah.
took it home and they sat me down and they said, Joan, make us a promise you will never be an artist. Don't ask me why they even thought. They said the only job for you is a bookkeeper or
Wow.
an
Oh,
accountant.
wow.
That's what
Yeah.
they actually told me. I
Wow.
will tell you this, I'm terrible at accounting.
Yeah.
But when I was 30 and I was just embarking, I just graduated chiropractic school, I
Yeah.
went to this visioning workshop. And in the visioning workshop, I had a vision about who I am. And in the vision, I was standing on a stage at the Coliseum,
Yeah.
and there were millions of people in front of me, uh, like walking in the Coliseum. And I was on a podium. I was dressed like an angelic being. There was an
Oh,
angel behind me.
wow.
And millions of people are walking or crawling or in their wheelchairs or on crutches in front of me. And this
Mm-hmm.
angel and I just waved our hands and our magic wand, just
Mm-hmm.
doing now. Some of you may feel it. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe you're going
Yeah.
to be healed. But
Yeah.
the people would stand up, drop
Yeah.
the wheelchair, drop the crutches. That was a vision. So, of course, all that stuff mysteriously disappeared. But they would keep walking and healed. And
Yeah.
I knew at that moment that my mission this lifetime was to heal and inspire millions of people
Mm-hmm.
to live their best life, to live
Yeah.
their purpose. And that vision is what has kept me from falling apart. I have lost everything twice,
Mm.
Camille. I have not had an easy life.
Yeah.
I've been virtually homeless almost twice and
Yeah.
destitute.
Yeah.
And what has kept me going, and even in the desert, not like people found me in the desert. I was being trained, but it was very hard for me. I had no one in the desert for 7 years.
Yeah.
And and I was being molded, I think. And
Mm-hmm.
I paid attention and listened
Mm-hmm.
until I was ready. And one day I was released. I was ready.
Yeah.
And they said, this is the work we want you to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you say yes, great. If not, well, there'll be another Joan of Angels somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
and Camille, that's what kept me going. So the difference
Mm-hmm.
between me and anyone else might be the fact that because I had that vision at 30, and
Mm-hmm.
I won't tell you how old I am now, but I'm still working on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It still fuels everything I do and my tenacity. So
Yeah.
my family would say, well, Joan, maybe you should be that bookkeeper, or maybe, you not or anything. And I just kept going. I never gave up.
Yeah. I think that's so beautiful. And I think it's a really good point for listeners who, maybe think that, like you said, you get that call and all of a sudden it's like easy street. And it's like, no, this is a calling. And there is absolutely still going to be challenges and roadblocks and all the 3D things to kind of figure out along the way. It's not going to be just, falling into a pit of gold coins. Like there's things you still have to figure out, even on this path.
Well, we live in a 3D universe, and
Yeah.
your family may not be happy with your choice. Like my daughter, I'll never
Hmm.
forget. I had just been named Joan of Angels, and I've made these business cards. It said Joan of Angels, Dr. Joan
Yeah.
of Angels, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And honestly, I was a nutcase, especially in her mind. We're in a shop in Santa Monica, and we're looking at clothes, and we start talking to this couple, and they ask my name, and then I'm in a quandary, right? And I should have said Dr. Joan Hangarter would have given me status, right? No,
Yeah.
I go and I'm testing, I'm trying it out. Well, I'm Joan of Angels, and my
Yeah.
daughter, oh my God, my daughter
Yeah.
looked at me, and she goes like this.
Uh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's like, Mom, did you have to lead with that? You could have told them that down the road.
Mm,
Doing. And I realized that this was going to be a process, me learning how
yeah.
to say, I'm Joan of Angels
Yeah.
and not die of shame.
Yeah. Well, how does it feel now to say I'm Dr. Joan of Angels?
Dr. Joan of Angels, and I've just been embracing the doctor part again. We own the
Yeah.
stage. We own a
Yeah.
room when we walk in.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
teach people how to do that through wing fluffing.
Yeah. Oh, please explain wing fluffing. I'd never heard that before, and I'm so interested in what that is.
All right. So you know the scapular?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's another name for those.
Yeah.
They happen to be also called, and the medical doctors will refer to them as wings.
Wow.
Those are your wings.
Yeah.
And many of us, and you have this frequency of the angels. You have a celestial angelic frequency,
Oh,
so this would relate to you too.
Yeah.
Many of us, in the many lifetimes we've had, have lost our lives because we were considered witches.
Mm-hmm.
You might have been a loving herbalist, in fact,
Mm-hmm.
probably more loving and
The
a
witch
better
wound.
herbalist you were, the
Yeah.
more you were subject to being burned at the stake or dying as a witch, being drowned. All those tortures that they gave to us that really impact us in this lifetime today.
Yeah.
That fear of coming out as a spiritual person, that
Oh,
fear
yeah.
of talking about the angels,
Oh, yeah.
or
Yep.
all the things we like to talk about. There's a
Mm-hmm.
fear. It's like you're the devil if you talk about that.
Yeah.
And so imagine now that you had these one-time beautiful wings and they've been slimed over.
Mm-hmm.
Even in this lifetime, slimed over with other people's opinions and curses and anger and your own fear. So wing fluffing is like literally getting your wings out of the closet, out of the cabinet, and cleaning them off.
Yeah.
And we clean them off so that they start to spread. And before you
wow.
know it, you can feel them, you can see them in color, you
Yeah.
can walk with them. But the importance of it is that when you learn how to do that effectively, any place you walk in, people will not understand because it's not like you have a sign on that says catch my wings,
Right.
or but they'll feel that you're
Yeah.
walking with the presence of the divine. You're
Yeah.
walking in a fifth dimensional frequency in the divine.
Yeah.
They'll feel it.
Yeah.
You become contagious, and they may not know what's going on, but they'll feel it. Like you can even do it in Starbucks. I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
And
I love that. I love it. It's funny, as you're saying this, like my back has been like getting tingly as you've been saying it. So I'm like, is she wing fluffing me right now?
Well, I'm talking to your wings specifically so they remember.
Yeah.
And so in the session, I take you to the Angel Rejuvenation Spa.
Yeah.
You get really loved upon, let's face it, and all those lifetimes of fear. Now, I have been told, as Joan of Angels, and I was always in love with Joan of Arc. I always thought I had been Joan of Arc. So this woman didn't even know me. When she named me Joan of Angels, it was really profound.
Yeah.
But I always felt that I always wondered about, all those deaths, and they said, no, you and others like you will not be burned at the stake this lifetime for your beliefs.
Sure. Yeah.
Just letting you know.
Ooh, that hit me in my soul. That hit me in my soul when you said that, because the thing that I run across so much in this work is how many people in the spiritual world, 5D world, ascension world, whatever you want to call it, are afraid to talk about these things. And I try to tell folks, be brave. Be brave. It's okay that we have experiences and perspectives that are a little bit different than other people and they might not understand it. Like, let us be bright and be our full, bold selves. And I'm speaking to myself because it took me a long time to get to this point too. So I'm right there with you, Joan.
You have to. You have to. I did a group for the NDE people, the near-death experiences. I did this group, and they said the biggest issue they had is that their family doesn't want them to talk about it.
Yeah.
It freaks their family out.
Yes.
And they don't want to talk about it, just like they don't want to talk about this or your past lives or how any of this impacts us today. And they're afraid of it. And they say it's the devil. Well, I think it's the devil who makes them feel that it's afraid to be afraid. Because you know what? We all come in this lifetime with a mission. And as much as the light knows what your mission is and is all here to support you, so does the dark. And so the dark gets very busy from the day you emerge from the womb and sends their agents, it could be in the form of your parents, your siblings, anyone, to stop you, to make it hard for you. To make it so difficult, you just don't step on that path. So can you not step on that path? Yes, there are people who get that call, but because of the trauma, they won't wake up, or they're afraid to, and they can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there are assigned, there are our loved ones and our relationships. Some of those people were assigned to take you out of the game. Because remember, your path is known to all sides.
Yeah.
And just like the light, the more you work with it, sends you light people to keep working with. The dark wants to get you off that light path as fast as possible.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I do feel like it is a common occurrence for light workers, whatever words we're using, star seeds, earth angels, all those words, right? To have difficult childhoods, to have a lot of what feels like targeting, bullying, even before they're even aware of anything spiritual. It happens way before they awaken. So what you're saying is that the dark is aware that a light worker, a star seed, an earth angel has been born, and kind of sends in interference.
I just had this huge vision of
so
this being on a microphone going, okay, she's here, get ready. Baby number 10,004 needs to be, needs to be tortured so that she doesn't live her soul path. Another avatar is landing. Get him.
More reasons to be brave.
That is happening too. And to talk about that is huge. I haven't really talked about that on any show. But I think it's important to know. And so if you understand that your early challenges were here to shape you, we're here to get you resilient and strong. And hopefully give you enough courage to keep going no matter what. And those little visions and dreams you had as a child sometimes serve as a key to really who you're here to become.
I think that is so validating for myself, but I think for also a lot of people listening who identify with this path. And to that point, I actually want to touch a little bit on galactic origins and star seeds, because I know I've been throwing around that word, and I know I've seen in your work that you talk about star seeds and galactic origins a little bit. This might be a new concept to some people, that we might be from someplace else, or we have genetic components that are from someplace else. Can you give your kind of view of ascension and star seeds? I know it's a huge topic, but I just want your perspective on it.
I love that topic. And I noticed you said that we might be.
I'm trying to be inclusive of anybody who might be a little bit skeptical listening to the show. I fully believe it, but I try to make sure that I ease my audience into these topics. But yes, please.
Okay, well, so I'm not going to be so subtle. I've had many encounters. I was guided to move to Mexico. And down in Baja, Mexico, every day I had 6 saucer clouds above my head. Saucer cloud was just like a saucer, and it didn't move. So all day, every day I'd go out and there'd be these 6 clouds above my head. And I'd have dreams at night. I'd wake up in the morning dreaming that there was a spaceship in the yard, and that, there was a ramp, and I was expected to walk up, to go see what was, and that was every single day I had those dreams.
Wow.
And later on, I had a hypnosis with a woman who does that for ETs. And I said, well, what was that about? And it was so cool. When I got to Mexico, when I got to Baja, I was so fascinated by UFOs at that time. I was really deeply involved in the research. I was going to all these events. And I started a group down there called Baja Paranormal, because I went down to research UFOs. That actually was why I went, and I needed to leave the States. So here I am in Baja, and I have all these people coming to my groups every week for my group Baja Paranormal. Now, why did I mention it? I don't know, but I guess I got very, very involved. And so, so I had this regression. And I find myself on a mothership above those 6 ships that were in Baja, because I asked her, show me what was happening in Baja, all these ships. And so I was in a mothership now, and I realized that it was connected to all these little ships. And in the mothership, there was a podium, and all of my people from the Baja Paranormal, there were like 95 people, were sound asleep in their chairs like this. And I was standing at the podium. There's a chair in front of me, and one by one, these people would come up and sit in the chair. And what was my job? What was I doing? I was aligning their antenna with the heavens and kind of tuning up their antenna and waking them up.
Wow.
And turning on their power. And whoever was there with me said that, well, that's your job. You promised not to leave the planet till every person had their power turned back on.
Yeah.
And so that was the second time that my mission had been so clearly stated. I was here to heal and awaken, inspire millions of people. Now I'm here to turn on their power. So I've had numerous encounters that have been transformational for me. So I want to address that for people. Yes, there's lots of evidence that the planet was seeded by several extraterrestrial groups. The most probably important or known are the Anunnaki, who came down here, who lived here for hundreds of thousands of years, and they genetically modified us. I mean, that's what it really was. They genetically modified us so we could look more like them. But they genetically modified us in a way that put in a compliance gene, so we would never.
Yeah.
It was pretty interesting. There were several different types of humans. They created humans that could control other humans. They created humans that would be slaves to them. And it's a little shocking, but that's what explains that statement. Also, these are the days the sons of God mated with the daughters of man. So when I started to understand really this galactic history of the planet, you could believe it or disbelieve it. I don't really care. But there is a lot of evidence, as there is evidence of the giants. And when I was in Egypt last summer, Camille, I went to the temple. It was in Luxor, the Luxor temple. Beautiful, amazing temple. All these traditional pillars. And all these beings, the statues that are 30 to 40 to 50 feet tall. And you walk among it and you feel like a puny human, just so you barely come up to their toe. And you walk around, and in the hieroglyphs, there was a wall in the hieroglyphs that our guide pointed out, and it was an extraterrestrial being. And what they were doing is they had feeding tubes going to these humans. And according to the hieroglyphs, that's how they were modifying or creating these humans. They were modifying they were creating hybrid humans. And you could see it in those hieroglyphs.
Wow. So, it's interesting. I've heard people refer to the Anunnaki, but I actually never really knew that much about it. And I didn't know, about the modification. So what can folks do now? I hear a lot about DNA coming back online, about different strands of the junk DNA coming back online. Is there anything that people can do to try to kind of mitigate that modification that you're talking about?
Okay. So you're talking about the compliance gene. So just so you know, some of those upgrades were good. Some of those upgrades were good for us, and they probably took us to a whole advanced state. But the planet right now, Camille, is in an ascension consciousness. Everything, and it's the times it was written in all of these records, that there would come a time where we would experience an elevation in consciousness. And we are living in that time. So even the pandemic, right, which, by the way, it was the first time COVID was actually named Corona, which light. Corona, light going viral, right? We had a viral infection called Corona. It was going viral. Light is radiant. Light is what crowns us. So I used to laugh because that was like crowning us. But it brought us to an initiation process. And so for many people went into a cocoon, you probably did too, where we were just evolving, kind of understanding what was going on, but we've come out of that cocoon now. And it's time for people to start stepping up, start embracing the gifts that you were born with and the mission that you came here with. Because what's going to happen is that we're collectively rising up. We are all collectively ascending now together. And if just this show awakens someone else, then collectively we can all ascend. And it is happening. It is real. And the energy is out there for this to happen. And so we're living in the greatest of times. And even though the trauma of the pandemic, because I think it was pretty traumatic, and negatively impacted, that was a wake up for you for your initiation, for each of us to get to that next level. And so that's really the message that I have, that we're all being called online right now, because millions of people are going to wake up and not understand about this spirituality, not understand what is going on. And that compliance gene that I'm talking about is really one reason why we see so many people that seem like they're brainwashed. You know, I feel like the media does that to us also. There's just one message, believe it and don't, because anyway, that's what I believe. But people are waking up, and those of you who are listening to this show are probably waking up, especially with Camille's help. And you can dissolve that. If you know you have it, you can literally take it out. And I do DNA activations as part of my work. We activate, the art I use for that a lot too, activates and energizes your light codes and what's in there, and wakes you up. It's just a matter of different levels of awakening.
Yeah. It sounds like what I'm hearing, a lot of what you're saying, is that we each have a unique role to play in the ascension, that we all have different things that we're going to be doing. You're obviously Dr. Joan of Angels, and you have amazing work that you do, but we're all going to be doing something different to help bridge us to whatever this new beautiful thing is that we're moving towards. I do want to talk a little bit more about your work, but first I do want to ask, just if you have advice for light workers, star seeds, earth angels, all those folks, anybody who's like newly considering these things and doesn't really know where to go, what advice do you have for them?
Well, first of all, I want you to know you're at the exact right place at the exact right time.
Yeah.
That activation code is working, because here you are. And it's okay to be a beginner. We're all a beginner. Yes. So you should remember that there's millions of people behind you who haven't even woken up yet, millions of people here, millions of people in front of you. So it's just a gradual, step by step, and you are in the right place at the right time. So what I suggest is that you find a guide, a mentor, if you feel called, that resonates with your heart, that you go, oh my God, I can learn from her, or I want what she has, or so, and you'll find that helpful. The other thing you'll find helpful is sitting with a pen and paper with your morning coffee or tea and writing down your thoughts, or writing down, in case you're here, you can start by saying, do you have any messages for me?
Yeah.
What should I do today? How should I run my day? And as you practice that, you might find things, you'll be writing things that you didn't even know you were thinking about.
So following that intuition, basically allowing that connection to higher self and source to just flow in on a daily basis, to kind of get that nudging of what to do and where to go next.
And I started off by using cards.
Yeah.
I would just pull a card or two every day to set the tone of my day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to see what message came through, because all those messages are usually valid.
Yeah. And for folks, I know that, we talked about the wing fluffing, which, like, my back is still very tingly since we started talking about it. So I feel like you kind of inadvertently did that for me. But I know you have all of these other things that you do where you help people as an oracle and as a spiritual advisor. And you have this activating art, which I have a piece of art coming. I'm going to put the picture in post. I cannot wait.
Right. Oh my God.
I cannot wait. Yeah.
What do you have? That's right. You won that contest.
I won. And this is the weirdest synchronicity, is that on a whim, I was just clicking through your site and I was like, oh, she's doing a giveaway. I'll sign up for it. And I ended up being the person that won. And I emailed you and I was like, Joan, I cannot believe it. Fun synchronicity, right?
Well, and it happened the last giveaway I had too.
Yeah.
The woman sat down. I was at the Sedona Ascension Retreat. I was doing readings, and she sat down, and it was the last day of the giveaway.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you should put your email in there.
Yeah.
And then as I was talking to her, I went, what if she wins?
Yeah.
She might think that I leveraged it in her favor. She might think I cheated for her. Because actually, it was like, well, it was like, what if she wins? Yeah. And sure enough, she won. And I almost had the same thing for you. Because a lot of people enter. It was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It'd be so funny if she won.
Yeah, I could not believe. I
And I
can't
don't
wait.
pick 'em. I didn't pick those.
Yeah, I figured it was like, you're someone on your team or a program, and I was like, I cannot wait. It's such a beautiful piece of art. I can't wait to add the picture in what before I post this up. But anyway, you do a lot of
It
things.
was the tote bag. Didn't you win the tote bag?
I won the tote bag. It's this tote bag with this angel on it, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to carry that. And it's funny that it's also a tote bag. I love my tote bags, which is like a whole other thing. Anytime I go shopping, I always have to have a tote bag with me.
Well,
So
let's do a little video. I'll send
yeah,
a video of you with the tote bag
yeah,
and
yeah.
how you feel. That would be so cute.
I would love I cannot wait. I was literally like checking my mail every day. I was like, I can't wait for this to come. So
I got a note yesterday. I know
yeah.
it's been shipped. So
Yeah. So
funny.
it's on the
I forgot all
way.
about it while we were talking. Yes, you're the
Yeah.
winner. So yes,
I
people, if
love
you
it.
enter our giveaways, which happen a few times a year, you
Yeah.
too might be a winner.
Yes. Yeah. We can all be winners, Joan. Every one of us can be winners. But anyway, I wanted to talk about some of the other things that you do because anytime I see somebody say that they're an oracle, that word, I love that word. I love that you give guidance in that way. So I would love you if you could talk a little bit more about how else you help people as an oracle and a spiritual advisor.
The first thing that I heard before I tell you about that is
Yeah.
that I heard, oh yeah, she was one of the oracles at Delphi. You.
Me? Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yes, that resonance. And I went to
Wow.
Greece this summer so I could
Yeah.
go to the Oracle of Delphi. I mean, because I was one of those oracles. And
Yeah.
when I went on that land, I just heard it was like, welcome home.
Oh my
And
gosh.
as
Whew.
I'm sitting here and you're asking me about it, I was like, oh yeah, she was one of the oracles at Delphi. So
Oh,
you can look it up or we'll talk later.
yeah.
But as an oracle, and when I'm in that oracle state, I have the ability to help see, who you are, what you're
Yeah.
here to do, what your mission might be,
Yeah.
your soul purpose, your soul
Hmm.
energy. Sometimes I can bring in wisdom, like wisdom
Hmm.
from the galactics our celestial team. And I feel like I've spent many lifetimes assisting people. So one of the things I did for 2 years, I've been traveling around the world
Yeah.
and I stop in and visit people I know from being online with them, people I've
Yeah.
done shows with or whatever, women,
Yeah.
particularly the women leaders around the planet.
Yeah.
And I kind of, you said inadvertently fluffed your
Yeah.
wings. Inadvertently, honey. There's no inadvertent.
Yeah,
And,
there's no coincidences, huh?
and if anyone on the show feels like their wings got fluffed in that part,
Yeah. Yeah.
I want you to send Camille a note because
Yeah.
let her know, comment on that because that's not a surprise. It wasn't inadvertent at
Yeah.
all. It was
Yeah.
really, I could see them trying to come out. What color
Oof.
were they?
I mean, I want to say purple, but that's the first thing that popped in. But
Yes. Well, then obviously there's purple in them. And then the next question would be, how big are they getting?
oh my God. Well, I feel like they're very you know what? They look like this to me, like the type of wing that like goes up and then juts out. That's how it looks in
Sweet,
my head.
sweet,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
sweet, sweet, sweet,
yeah.
sweet. Yeah. It's
I
all
love it.
true. So that's what I do, people. I help you
Yeah,
step into your best self. I help
yeah,
you remember your best self and step into it. I help you
yeah,
let go of the things that got in your way. Like when I
yeah,
told you that story of how he told
mhm,
me that, I blew it.
yeah,
There were obviously things in my life that I wasn't listening to the voice of the divine. I wasn't following that path.
yeah.
And when I look back, I did blow it. But
Mhm,
the goal is to learn how to clear away the
mhm,
obstacles, to look at
mhm.
your life from the big
Yeah.
picture down. So I take everyone to the mountaintop, and there's a little cave about 20 feet below the top. It's
Mhm.
Joan of Angels Cafe right there. And I invite my clients to come in and have a cup of chai tea with me,
Mm,
as we sit and we look at the world below us and you in the world below. And
yeah,
we get quite a good perspective.
that's beautiful. Oh my gosh, Joan. Are there any other services, anything else you want folks to know about your work and your mission in this
Yes.
lifetime? Yeah.
Okay. So you know how we all evolve. I'm going through
Yes.
another level of evolution.
Oh, okay.
And what's going to be happening, I haven't done it yet, but if you sign up, you'll hear about it, is that I'm going to be offering a new program called Power On and
Oh,
how to turn on your passion, purpose, and power. so that you can live the life you're choosing. And that's going to include individual sessions, group coaching, and a retreat down in Acapulco once I pull it all together.
Ooh.
So, and check out my Instagram and my Facebook, because I'm putting lots of juicy new things up there, including testimonials of people who've been with me as I started to do these events. So it's all coming. I'm ahead of my website. So that's all I can tell you. Reach out to me if you need more information. joanofangels@gmail.com.
Beautiful. And it's joanofangels.com. And I think your Instagram is also Joan of Angels. I think it's Joan of Angels everywhere, right?
Yes. And I'm in the middle of the trademark for my name. So I can tell you I'm the only Joan of Angels on the planet.
Congratulations on that. I know that is a huge undertaking. So congrats.
Well, it's a big mission. And so that's why it took me 7 years to step up, because that part of me that likes to be in the closet, to hide, we had to talk together. We had to have those chats, just like you're going to have a chat with yourself, guys, about who you are and what's holding you back from letting the rest of us see you.
Joan, first of all, I have to say, this was such a fun chat. I felt like it was so magical, so mystical, so electric. I can still feel my wings fluffing out. And I love the wisdom that you carry and the story that you have so generously shared with us. Thank you so much for being on the show, Joan.
All right, guys, I think I've said it. Listen to that voice within, follow the guidance, and trust that you're on the right path. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. And the more you say yes, the more activations you're going to receive. And that's where your greatest joy is going to come. Because I know Camille can attest to it. When we're doing that soul work, we feel aligned. Your heart starts singing, and you know that you're on the right path. And so that's my message to all of you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Highly Spiritual Person podcast. I really hope you found this conversation inspiring and uplifting. If you did, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel for more updates. And remember, sharing is caring, so if you think others would benefit from this content, don't hesitate to share it with your friends and family. We'll be back with more exciting content, so stay tuned and stay curious.